My earliest child, I grew up in the Depression, deep Depression. My family, extended family, was first generation immigrants, working class, mostly unemployed, politically very active in the union movement, in the left parties, Communist Party, others. Childhood memories were things like people coming to the door, trying to sell rags to try to survive, traveling with my mother in a trolley car and going past a textile plant where the women were on strike, and pretty deep poverty. But as compared with today, it was a pretty hopeful period. Not in the Dust Bowl, I'm sure, but where we lived in the Northeast New York. There was a sense that somehow we were all going to get out of this. There was a sympathetic administration. There was a union organizing was taking off. A lot of it was quite militant, very engaged. It was a warm, cheerful environment, and particularly a lot of hope for the future. The thought that somehow we're going to get out of all this. So my aunts, a couple of aunts who were seamstresses and unemployed, but they were members of ILGU, the union, and the union offered things like a week's vacation, educational groups, cultural groups, solidarity, a life to be part of. All of that is sort of missing today. There's a sense of hopelessness, atomization. You see it in the statistics, an increase in mortality among working people, mostly white working age people. Just what are called deaths of despair. It's never happened. Even during the Depression, you didn't see this. So on the other hand, it's a much wealthier, comparably wealthier society than it was. But without services are declining, the sense of community is declining, of solidarity, of ability to do something. It's changing with the younger generation, fortunately. But it's a very different atmosphere in many ways. But the idea of, like in my parents' house, they were teachers. They had a job, Hebrew teachers. It was unusual that they had jobs, but they got several newspapers a day. In fact, the mainstream newspapers published several editions a day. There was a variety of left-wing publications. In fact, as a kid, as a teenager, in fact, by the time I was kind of old enough to get around the city by myself, and spent a lot of time at the downtown main Philadelphia Public Library. They had a big downtown library, which had wonderful collections of all sorts of things. The biggest collection of radical literature I've ever seen in my life. Every little newspaper that anybody was putting out, they had it there. Young people don't read anything like the level they used to. I can even see it in teaching classes, even at the big, the elite universities. Years ago, if I made casual literary reference, students knew what I was talking about. And now you can't do it. They wouldn't know. Actually, you see it in the educational statistics. Like if you take a look at book assignments in schools. By now, the books that used to be assigned in, say, 9th grade are being assigned in 12th grade. And the whole level of reading and culture is just declining. Of course, it develops in other areas, like rap music or punk rock or something else, but not in rich. And I should say that there's other things that are growing, like people didn't read women authors or third world authors. Now they do. That's enriching. So it's not totally negative, but I think there's kind of a general decline. It's the most exciting thing I can think of, not just teaching, but interacting. To the extent possible, it's not easy with big classes, having an interaction with students. These are people in the formative stage of life, if in the right environment thinking, exploring new ideas, and so on. And just even the young children, seeing a 2 or 3 year old kid exploring the world is quite exciting.